Started. There we go. Okay, well, thank you all for being here this afternoon for the WinMBNA webinar. Before we get started, just a reminder to please make sure that you have yourself muted just so we can limit background noise with so many people on a call. And then if you have any questions throughout the webinar, feel free to type them in the chat and I'll be monitoring that to make sure we get to everybody's questions at the end. But I'll go ahead and turn it over to Christine, our WinMBNA president.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Today's webinar features Liza Altenburg, founder of Authenticity in Action and author of Selling with Sensitivity. Liza has spent years honing her expertise in sales and is deeply passionate about teaching others how to sell with empathy and authenticity. In this webinar, she will share invaluable strategies for building trust and confidence in monument sales, skills that can truly set you apart in a competitive industry. Whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting out, Liza's practical techniques for connecting with clients will equip you with tools that you need to succeed in a way that does feel genuine and impactful. So welcome, Liza.
Thank you so much, Christine and Kaylee and everybody for having me here. I'm so excited to be with you today. This is one of my very favorite things to do. Like Christine said, my name is Liza Altenburg. Let me just make sure my slides are going to go here. Here we go. I'm currently a sales manager with Everstory Partners. I am the author, like she mentioned, of Selling with Sensitivity. I'm a behavior consultant, but really what I want to talk to you about today is that I am a bereaved daughter. And you see a photo there of baby Liza just a couple years ago, and that is my dad there beside me. I've been a lifelong sales leader. I mean, since I was a teenager, I sort of got into sales and leadership. And so it was a very comfortable place for me. Before I found death care, I didn't know anything about it. And 10 years ago, actually almost to the day, it was last week, the 17th, was the day that I lost my dad unexpectedly, no warning, no goodbye. And in the days that followed, I was the one that had to figure it all out. I was an only child and he was divorced. And as you well know, in the state of Michigan, that means that everything fell directly onto my shoulders. I didn't know what came next. I didn't know what questions to ask. And I was honestly too broken to advocate for myself. That experience really, really changed me. It absolutely cracked me wide open. And 10 years later, the reason that I do what I do every day, the way that I do it. I have the opportunity to tell my dad's story every day, and it's very healing. But it's healing in a way that is a mission for me to continue on the good work that death care professionals do. We're here today to talk about selling. But the bottom line is families don't need just another salesperson. They need somebody who gets it. They need somebody who can show up with compassion and competence. They need somebody who can be a calming guide in the middle of their chaos, because that's what we really can be for them. It takes a very special person to do what we do and work with the people that we work with every day, right? It takes a very special type of person to work with people who are grieving and find that sensitivity, but still be able to lead with the confidence that they need in order to help them move forward. So today, we're going to explore how to do just that. We're going to talk about how to sell in a way that feels very real, very grounded, but also confident and clear and effective. So before we go too far in, I want to hear from you. I would love to know what your challenges are right now when it comes to selling. So if you could just take a moment and pop into the chat. Where is your struggle? Is it a confidence issue? You're not feeling like you have what it takes or know all of the things to be able to sell effectively? Is it the objections? Is it, building that rapport, the relationship? Are you struggling with closing? Is it a gender bias or something else completely not even on the list? So if you wouldn't mind posting that for me in the chat, that will help me as we move forward so I can make sure that we're really covering everything that is really, really applicable to you. It's awful quiet in the chat. Everybody might be in the car, and that's okay. Okay, so we've got some coming in here. Trying to remove yourself emotionally from the hard cases. Ooh, that's a good one, Margaret. Handling objections, I'm seeing a couple times. Okay, excellent. Gender bias and objections. Ooh, objections is a strong theme. Money and sensitivity seem to be contradictory. Oh, I like that. Building connection, objections. All right, beautiful. Thank you so much. So again, this is exactly why we're here. Closing without making the family feel pressured, giving them space, but trying to get a commitment. Okay. Handling objections. Beautiful. Ooh, this is a good one. Teresa said other companies in the area asking the potential customers to get a quote from us, and then they'll beat the price. Helping understand. Okay. Good. This is great. Thank you so much for that feedback, because that really, really helps me. Ooh, handling how to compete with Catholic cemetery that works out of Catholic guilt. Boy, you're speaking my language now. I am a recovering Catholic. That's how I like to refer to myself. 12 years of private Catholic school. And actually, I got my start in death care with the Archdiocese. So I am very familiar with all the Catholic guilt and the many, many layers of it. All right, so thank you for that. So the first thing that I want to talk about really as we move forward is reframing your role. So I understand that you are a salesperson. It's what we do. It's what I do. We are salespeople. And it's so funny, if you ask people, like, what are you most afraid of? You might hear like monsters or the dark or werewolves or vampires, but salespeople, we are terrified of being salesy. Like, that's the worst possible thing that we think that we can be. And so I actually, based on those, the things that you had mentioned in your script, I'm going to go off script here for a quick second and make sure that I stay right on target so we end on time, I promise. But I want to talk about the concept of being salesy and what that means and what that looks like. I found, particularly in death care, and this went way back in other industries as well, but the concept of being salesy is seen as something external, but really it's a paradox. And I want you to flip this and reframe this, because it really is an internal thing. There are two ways that you can go about a sale, right? You can go and you can sit down with a family and you can talk to them about memorialization options and monuments and what it is that they can do for their family, because you're working to help them. You're working to serve them. You're working to help them to build a legacy, to preserve a life, to tell a story. And when we work out of service, we come across a certain way. The second way that we can go into each meeting with each family is in a way that makes it all about me, right? I've got bills to pay. I've got to make sure that I get that student loan payment paid by the end of the month. Things have been tight this month. I have got to close this sale. Do you think you show up the same way as you do when you walk in and you're truly there from a place of service? It's a completely different thing. And what I have found is that salesy comes from within. If I am working to close a sale because I'm thinking about lining my pockets, I'm going to come across as salesy. There's not a way around it. But if I'm sitting with the family and I'm allowing myself to connect with them and learn about the person that they're memorializing and really build that connection and serve them and do it for the right reasons being because it's what they deserve. It's what their loved one deserves, the dignity of having this beautiful memorial, this beautiful legacy. It's an entirely different experience. So again, you're not selling a product, you're preserving a legacy, you're telling a story. I want you to remember this. It is about grief. It is not about granite. Granite is a tool that we use, but what we're actually selling, what we're actually doing is taking care of families in a way that not everybody can. All right, back on script now. So you have the opportunity in what you do every single day, to turn one of life's hardest chapters, one of the most difficult things, one of the most vulnerable moments in someone's life, into something really healing. And that's what it's all about. But to do that well, we have to start with the heart. If 80% of the time that you spend with a family is spent on relationship building and rapport, that's okay. That's okay. I think so often we go in and we're thinking about the selling steps, right? My introduction, build rapport, move into the product and sell the benefits and move forward, because that's all the sales training that we've gotten. And so we're checking off a list in our minds as we go. Some of us better than others, because some of us in our minds, we're going next, right? If you've gotten better at it, maybe you're not being so obvious with it, but that's what we're doing in our minds. We're going through. Slow down, particularly on that relationship building and the rapport building portion of it. If you're spending an hour with a family, the vast majority of it should be on building that relationship, learning and asking those questions. So instead of asking, what color granite do you want? Are you looking at gray, looking at red? Try something like, tell me about Susan. Tell me about your mom. Very early in my death care career, I had a mentor teach me that when I go in to sit with a family to help them to plan someone's service or memorial, I sit down with them, and the first thing I do, of course, offer my condolences, and then I'll say, had your mom been sick for long? And that one question tells me everything that I need to know about what that person needs from me in that moment, because they're going to answer a certain way, right? Basically, there's a few different ways they might answer it. They may, if I say, had your mom been sick for long? They may go, well, yeah, it's been a long road. It's been years and years, right? And they're going to start telling me the story. This A tells me this is somebody who wants to be chatty, right? This is somebody who's more of a people person and not such a task-focused person. They want to build that relationship with me. If I say, had your mom been sick for long? Sometimes they'll go, yeah. Oh, same answer, same answer. It's not about finding out if mom had been sick for long. It's about finding out what that person needs from me in that moment. So if I get a short one-word answer, this is maybe somebody who's not quite as people-focused or not in the mood to be people-focused, really more task-focused. So we're going to stay a little bit more on target. That doesn't mean I can't still build rapport with them. Just means I have to do it a little bit differently. So that's really important. Now I know how to move forward. And remember, different families have different communication needs. We all have sort of our dominant personality behavior styles, but we all fall into all of them at different times. So someone who might be the chattiest person in the world, when they're under stress, when there's pressure, when they're grieving, when they've lost somebody important, might turn into a tight-lipped, let's just get through this. I don't want to talk about it. Let's just get it done. You have to be able to read the room. It has to happen. Some people might want bullet points. Others might need the warmth that you provide. Some might want some space. They want to be able to know that they're making the decisions. Others might want to know that their decision is a popular one. What have other families done? And then you may have people who want every little detail. We've all had that family member that wants you to read the contract to them in full and then flip it over and read all of the fine print on the back. Those are your really, really detail-oriented people. For me, that is absolutely the vast opposite of me. I am great at a lot of things. Being detail-oriented, not one of them. So for me, when I sit across from that person, I have to be very conscious and know that I have to slow down. I have to become more patient and sit with them, because it's not about what I need. It's about what that family needs in that moment, because I'm there to serve them. All right, so let's talk about balance. Balancing competence and compassion. Let's see if there we go. Compassion gets you in the door, you guys. That's how you get the appointment, but competence is what's going to keep you there. Your presence is what helps people feel safe, but your expertise is what's going to keep them moving forward with you. That balance is really key. Compassion without competence, you're sort of just like a wet, gooey blanket. Like, you're comfortable, but there's really not much else to you. But competence without compassion is hard and transactional, and there's no emotion there. And if you find yourself leaning towards competence and not bringing in enough compassion, that's probably where you're seeing some of that, well, I'm going to see if I can get this price matched. Or just tell me what you're going to do, and I'm going to go down the street and they can see if they can give me a better price. If you're in that compassionate space and you're not leaning quite enough into your competence, you may find that your meetings are lasting forever my gosh, I sat with that family for 3 hours. They would have just talked to me all day and it was great that they liked me. You need them to do more than like you. You need them to allow you to guide them. That's what it's all about. So finding that balance is very, very important because families need both. They have to have that heartfelt experience. This is an emotional experience for them. They just lost somebody they love more than anything in the world. But they need that professional expertise, the person to guide them through this process, the person that they can trust to lean on as they go through the process. You don't have to choose between being warm and being strong. The most effective professionals are both. And that's where charisma comes in. Side note, there is a fabulous book written by a lady named Vanessa Van Edwards. It's called Cues, C-U-E-S. Fantastic when it comes to building your charisma, finding the beautiful balance of warmth and professionalism, and also being able to identify cues that other people give, different body language, whether or not they're using their arms, whether or not they're glancing to the right or the left. It's really, really great, and she's fantastic. So if you're looking for more reading, after Selling with Sensitivity, of course, I highly recommend Vanessa Van Edwards' Cues. She's fantastic. All right, so again, we're reading the room. And I want you to think about this. What balance does this family need from me right now? Do they need me to be quick and concise? That would be maybe your reserved, maybe not outgoing, a reserved person who's maybe more task focused. This is somebody who just bullet point it for me. Tell me what the bottom line is. They're not somebody who you want to build your pricing from the bottom up, right? Well, for the granite, it's this much. And then for the engraving, it's this much. And if you want to add an emblem, here's how much it's going to cost. And if we wanted to polish here, it's going to be, you're going to want to give that person the bottom line. So the total cost is going to be $10,000. Let me show you what that includes. This is not somebody who wants you to build out a price in front of them. Friendly and warm. Is this somebody who could, if you weren't careful, sit with you for 3.5 hours and tell you all about everybody in their family and how much they miss mom and why they loved her so much? Is it somebody who, again, wants to know that other people did this too? Is this a popular option? You have those real steady individuals who are very good. They don't want to rock the boat. They're great team players, but they don't want to ever be the first person to do anything. So they might not be somebody who's interested in, oh, customize, and they want to know that there's somebody else that's done it first and was happy with it. Or is it somebody who wants to read every line of that contract, be prepared, and be able to offer all of those details? That might be somebody who, instead of saying it's $10,000, here's what it includes, you want to give them something in writing. Here's what everything breaks down to, so that they have an idea of exactly what everything is. They want that breakdown. It's important to match their pace and not your own. I am that friendly, warm person. I would sit and talk to you all day long. Might not ever give you a penny for anything, but I'd sure love eating up your time. We'd have a great time together. That's what's important to me. So unless we build that relationship and I have that rapport and I trust you, you're going to have a really hard time getting me over the hump and talking to me about spending money. So ask yourself, who's in front of me? Who is this? And then adjust, not your authenticity, but your delivery. It's not about, I'm going to change who I am. Because again, we all have all 4 of these styles within us. Sometimes you want quick and concise, bullet pointed. Sometimes you want to be able to build a relationship, tell a joke. Other times you want to fit in. And then other times you want all those details. Maybe you lean to one more than the others more often. But generally who we are and who we show up as every day can change a little bit when the pressure's on, when somebody turns the fire on below our pan, right? And when are we dealing with people? When the fire's on under their pan. All right, let's see. Confidence and credibility. Okay, ladies, I am looking at you. Gentlemen, I'm not saying don't listen, because you may deal with this too, but this is absolutely something that women in sales of any type of industry can really struggle with. I hear from so many women in this space, particularly younger women, who feel dismissed. Maybe they've been asked, can I just speak to the man in charge? I know I've been asked that. Doesn't feel great. It doesn't feel great. And it's really frustrating. But here's what I want you to know and hear today. You don't need permission to be the expert. You don't have to prove that you belong. You already do. Confidence doesn't come from being loud. It comes from being clear, from knowing your stuff, from standing in your values, from being authentic, from being who you are. Because the one thing that you can offer the families that nobody else ever could is you. And it's really important to embrace that. So I always say, jokingly, but not so jokingly, don't poo-poo the woo-woo. And there's something to be said for mindset work. And a big piece of what we do is battle that mindset work. And I am not suggesting that we are not getting actual objections based on you're a woman and I want to talk to a man, because of course, sometimes that happens. I've certainly dealt with it. And I'm guessing just about everybody on this call has dealt with it. But we need to make sure that even in those awful moments, we're not allowing it to change the way we show up for the next person. That we're not allowing it to change to make us feel like we need to be smaller, to pull in, to let somebody else come in and take over for us. Because everybody on this call deserves to be in the role that you are in. And it has nothing to do with gender or the way you look or the way you think. It has to do with the fact that you earned the role that you're in. Somebody believed in you, and you can't let imposter syndrome get in the way of remembering that, because we all have that jerk in our head. Sometimes I get a little more vulgar, but today we'll call him a jerk. We all have that jerk in our head, imposter syndrome. It's mean, it's horrible. Every day I battle my imposter. And I'll tell you, I think we'll have a little time, I'm going to go into it. How I have worked with families, not just families, I've worked with entrepreneurs and salespeople for years on how to overcome that jerk in your head. And this is what I'm going to say, don't poo-poo the woo-woo, you guys, it works. The woo-woo works, the mindset work is important. If you are struggling with this, if this is something that you're struggling with, I'm speaking directly to you, and I want you to take a piece of paper. I have a Post-it note. Oh, it's not even showing up. The camera is interesting. And you can do it on a full-size piece of paper, draw a line right down the center. And on the left-hand side of that piece of paper, I want you to write down all of the awful things that jerk in your head says to you. You're not good enough. That person will never buy from you. You're not pretty enough. You're whatever the jerk says, write it all down. It's not a fun exercise, not in the beginning. It gets better, I promise. But I always get looks like, you want me to write all that down? If I write it down, it makes it real. But it also gives you an opportunity to go to step 2 in the exercise, which is on the right-hand side of that paper. And actually, I really like it when we do it as a group, and I can have we can like shuffle them all together and hand them all out. So everybody has everybody else's jerk in their head in front of them. And on the right-hand side, you write down the exact opposite of the statement on the left. So if it says, you don't belong here, the opposite of that is you are exactly where you belong. So the beauty of that, and yes, we can come up with it for ourselves. I love it when we can do it separately, because there's just something touching about being able to get it back and have somebody else write down all those beautiful things, because let's face it, external validation feels really good. And then we can turn it into internal validation. What you have on the right-hand side of that paper after you've done that are your affirmations. Don't poo-poo the woo-woo. They work. Daily affirmations work. You can say them in the shower. You can say them in the mirror. You can say them in your car. I say my daily affirmations every single day. Every single day. And I poo-pooed the woo-woo at one time in my life, and I felt it. I was like, this is stupid. Why am I doing this? And a few weeks in, oh my gosh, I felt awful. I was questioning everything. Mindset is everything. And if you have to work on it. If you don't work on mindset, mindset will work on you, and you don't want that. All right. Let me move on, and let me just check and see if we've got any questions so far that we can go into. Okay, good. So we've got some people who had to step away. We are being recorded. That's fantastic. All right, so let's move on. And the number one struggle that everybody posted a little bit earlier, objections. We're having a hard time getting over the objections. So let's jump into it, okay? Here's the deal though. Objections are not personal. They're protective. It's protective of me if you're trying to sell something to me. Families are going to push back, and they push back for several different reasons. Because they're scared, because they're overwhelmed, because they're confused, because they don't trust you. There are ways around this. When I said it's okay if you spent 80% of your time in the relationship building and rapport building phase of your meeting, this is what I mean. If you get to the point where you're working to close a sale and every objection is coming your way, and you find out that it's because there's no trust, you probably didn't spend enough time in that relationship building phase, in getting to know them. Sometimes we have to get a little bit vulnerable. It is not, well, it's much easier now. It was not easy for me in the beginning to share my story, to talk about my loss, to make people understand that I've been in their shoes. It wasn't fun. It's never easy to open yourself up to a little bit of vulnerability, but it's very necessary. So if you find yourself sort of skimming over that, I'm just not comfortable with that, I'm not sure, there's something really, really to be said about figuring out in what way you can get vulnerable. What way can you step out of that comfort zone of not being vulnerable? We all know nothing exciting ever happens in the comfort zone, right? We all know that we should be pushing outside of the comfort zone. I never loved those training because it always felt very vague to me. Step outside of your comfort zone, you'll grow. Yeah, but what does that even look like for me? I have no idea. This is what it looks like for you. Get vulnerable. If that's something that you struggle with, tell your story, tell a story. If you don't have a story, tell somebody else's story. I know that in the work that you have done, you've touched a family, and a family has touched you, touched your heart. And excuse me, you have a story. And if you don't, ask the person who sits in the desk next to you, because they do. And use those stories, tell those stories. That will help to really overcome objections. The CARE framework is a wonderful way to overcome objections. Clarifying when someone gives you an objection. All right, tell me a little bit more about what concerns you. Don't ever take an objection at face value. We have to dig a little bit further into it. We've all heard of smokescreen objections. It's generally what you're going to get first. So we have to continue to ask. So once we know, once it's clarified, it's important to acknowledge it. Oh, that's completely valid. Okay, so you're not the only one who's felt that way. And again, a story is perfect here. You've heard of the feel, felt, found method. I know how you feel. I felt the same way, but what I found, it's very hokey and it's very like 1970s Zig Ziglar, Dale Carnegie sales training. And so I would never tell you use feel, felt, found in like a formula, but the concept works. So being able to say you're certainly not the only person who's felt that way, particularly if you are sitting across from somebody who you know is in that, like, what have other families done mode. To be able to tie that to you are part of a group. That's important for them. Reassure. Let's walk through what this involves. You're reassuring them that you are there to walk beside them in this, that you are their guide through this. This is where you show your competence. Your clarification and your acknowledgement, that's more of your compassion. Your reassurance, that is your competence. And then empowering your family. You're in control. These decisions are yours to make. I'm just here as your guide through this, because this is what I do. Again, more competence gets to shine here. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about our 3 top objections and responses. Time frame. Oh my goodness, time frame. After COVID, right? Oh, everything slowed down. Can't get anything here in a reasonable amount of time. Well, this is ridiculous. Why is it going to take so long? Here's what we can control. And here's what depends on permits and weather. nobody can fight with you on weather. Nobody can fight with you on the slow boat coming from China, right? So this is a time to educate. This is not necessarily a time where you're going to go into every little detail, unless maybe you have that person in front of you who made you read the back of your contract. But this is a way for you to educate, for you to make your family feel like you're bringing them into the club of knowledge. So to be able to say, I know nobody wants to hear about COVID anymore. I understand, but here's what this is what logistically what it looked like after COVID. We had to shut down X, Y, and Z. Because we had to do that, our workers, had to go find work elsewhere. When we were finally able to open back up, a lot of them didn't come back. So now we're understaffed. And also the orders didn't stop coming in during that time. So you're telling a story and you're making them understand, and you're doing it as a guide, not as the salesperson across the table, but because you've built that rapport, it's like you can sort of lean in. So this is why. All right, moving forward onto options. Oh my gosh, there's just so much. Have you ever done that? You like, oh, well, you could do this and then you could do this and you could, when I was brand new, man, I wanted to tell everybody about everything. I worked in a cemetery and it was, well, let me tell you about the grave versus the crypt versus the niche. And then you could do this and we have double depth over here and you can have a green burial. And then for memorialization, my gosh, you can do something flush, or we could do a ledger, or we could do a big giant monument. You could do an obelisk. You could, and oh, you could see their brains scrambling with all of the information. So it's important to go in having as much information as you can, so you know sort of what you want to present. Of course, let the family drive. But when it comes down to, gosh, I just don't know what to choose, let's narrow this down together. Tell me what feels like them. Tell me what feels like mom. What's most important to you? Is it the rose? Is it the rosary? Whatever that looks like. And then we can take it one step at a time when it's options, when they're overwhelmed because they feel like there's too much to choose from. And the third most common objection, pricing. Let's walk through this piece by piece so that you feel comfortable with the full picture. Because just like anything else, you can do whatever you want for the right price. So we have to find the balance between what's comfortable in your budget, what you're able and willing to invest into this legacy and memorial for your mom, for your spouse, for the person you love more than anything, and what we can actually do. These are not objections, time frame, options, and pricing. They're invitations to slow down, to go back, to make sure that rapport is there, and to serve. If you are getting if you've gone through the entire process and they say, great, can you write that down for me? Because I want to go see, the other place said they'd see if they could beat my price. You're going to have the competitors that are underhanded. And here's what I'll say, let them be underhanded. Because if somebody's going to be underhanded, it's not you. Because you do things better than that. And I want you to look at the photo that's on the screen because it's about service over sales. When you lead with service and when you can explain, I understand that they're going to beat the price, but here are the things that you need to think about. I have no idea how they do things. I have no idea what their process looks like, but I can tell you with full confidence, here's what ours looks like. Whether it is the x-ray of the granite to ensure that there's not a hairline fracture in there that's going to cause a problem for you in the future. Whatever that looks like, what is your competitive advantage? If you don't know what it is, get with your boss right away. Have that conversation. Find out what that competitive advantage is that your firm offers that the other ones don't. We all have one. And the bottom line is, even if you didn't have one, your competitive advantage looks you in the mirror every single morning. Because those other guys don't have you. Those other guys don't have the person who took an hour out of their Thursday afternoon to log on to this training to find out how to be better at what you do, to find out how to serve more thoroughly. how to touch more lives. So lean back into the confidence that you have everything that you need to overcome these objections. The best time to overcome an objection, my friends, is before you get it. In order to overcome an objection before you get it, you have to know what those top objections are going to be. And maybe it's time frame, options, pricing, maybe it's something else. In my line of work, I find my biggest objections come before I set the appointment. People don't want to be obligated to anything. They don't want to be pressured into anything. So when I'm calling to set an appointment, I'm saying, John, I need to meet with you to go over this and review these things. John, there's no obligation, no pressure. I just want to connect with you so that we can XYZ. I just overcame that objection before he could give it to me. So if you have those objections, if you know they're coming, overcome them ahead of time. All right, let's talk about the I have to think about it smokescreen. I'm going to give you some verbiage that I've found works very, very well, and it's worked really well for my teams and my clients in the past. So the first thing is, it's a smokescreen, because let's say you're at ABC Warehouse and you're buying a refrigerator and you go, okay, thank you for the information. I have to go home and think about it. Do you go home and sit down and go, gosh, do I want to go with the stainless steel or the white? No. We don't go home and pore over it. We just want it out of the room. So yes, I have to think about it. We've got to find a way around this. We've got to find a way to overcome this. So here's how I handle it. And here's what I found worked for a lot of people. Of course, you can have some time to think about it. How about this? It's Thursday. If I don't hear from you by Monday, I'll give you a call by then. Does that sound okay? Yes. Okay. And then I'm putting my things together and I say, just very curious, completely off the record, just between us. What's really standing in your way? What's not feeling right to you? Because what you've done is you've leaned in, you've come out of presentation mode, and you've gone into, we're buddies, right? You can trust me. This works beautifully if you've spent the time to build the trust. Now, if you haven't, they're going to go, oh, who are you? I don't want to tell you. What are you talking about? I just have to think about it. And you'll know in that moment if you did enough of the trust building. But that's a great way around it. Now, you may not close the sale today, but they might go, wow, gosh, sometimes people will be insightful enough to go, once I do this, it's done. And there's nothing else for me to do for my mom. And I just don't quite feel ready to do that yet. Some people will go, well, I don't know, pricing, there's just so many options out there. And the guy down the street wanted me to come back and see if they could beat my price. But they're going to trust you with that because of the way that you went into that conversation, because of the relationship building that you did early in the process, and because you've changed the conversation when you agreed to give them time and then you leaned in after the fact and said, listen, just between us, what's going on? So lean in, make it more of a friendly thing, and that will tell you what's in the way of them moving forward. And now when you follow up on Monday, because we've just talked about how the best time to overcome an objection is before you get it, you can go right in and overcome that objection in your conversation and move into the logistics of the purchase. Just check in to make sure. Drew says you'll be surprised by what your competitive, gosh, if I could speak today, you'll be surprised by what your competitive advantage is or how it changes with time. It's very, very true. And again, if you don't know what it is, you need to have a conversation, because your ability to overcome objections, no matter what they are, hinges on your confidence in your product and your service. If you don't have confidence in your product or service, boy, you need to find it fast. So talk to your supervisor, talk to your manager, talk to who hired you, talk to a coworker, and find out what your competitive advantage is. Aside from you, I mean, that's number one. All right, so let's move on to closing. closing with heart, if you've done the connection work, if you've addressed the concerns, the close shouldn't feel like a pitch. A sale is just a series of yeses. So I like to really work throughout the process to continue to get yeses. And you do that by tying in the emotion and asking about, do you think mom would like this? So as you're going through and you're designing and you're going with this color or this polish or this style or something really custom, lead with a compliment. My gosh, this is really, really beautiful. I just have to imagine your mom would love this. Do you think she'd really like this? Yes. And then you move forward and you go into your fonts and the different types of sandblasting or the laser, whatever it is. My gosh, that is so sharp. What a beautiful way to honor her. You think your mom would really like this? Yes. So now we get to the close. And when we're asking, are you ready to move forward? It's just another yes. They've been saying it all day. They've been saying it through the entire meeting that you've had. It's just another yes. Don't push, partner. It should feel like permission. It's not, would you like to purchase this? It's, how are you feeling about this? Does this feel like it's the right thing for your mom? Again, lead with that compliment. I think this is just a beautiful choice. What a gorgeous way to honor your mom. Is this the way you want to move forward? Right? I'll just lead them into that next yes. I have on here this little photo, and this is a little side note that I'm going to take you through because I think it's hilarious. These are my least favorite words, and my team members know if I walk into a room and I hear them calling and saying, I'm just following up, my head's going to explode. Eradicate these words from your vocabulary. Because when someone calls you and says, hi, I'm just following up, or hi, I'm just circling back, just touching base, boy, that's a sales call. Have you ever called your best friend to say that? I'm just following up to see if we're good for dinner tomorrow night. No, that's a sales call. So instead of telling them you're just following up with them, tell them that they were on your mind. Tell them you were thinking about them. Tell them you saw something that reminded you of them. I was just working with another family, and they chose that same rose that you were talking about for your mom, and it just looked great on their memorial and made me think of you. I just wanted to see, I almost did it. I just wanted to. Stop, get the word just out of your vocabulary. Naughty Liza. All right, it made me think of you, and I wanted to give you a call, see how things are going. Sometimes we have to be able to make a call and not ask for a thing. You've got to balance it. Do not be that passive person who dots out of every close, out of asking. But it's okay sometimes just to reach out to somebody and say, you were on my mind. I know you've been really struggling this year. How are you doing? And don't ask for a thing. Now, the next time you reach out, of course, you're going to follow up and it's, when can we connect again? I have some more ideas for you. I saw a few different things that I think you would really, really like, and what a beautiful way that would be to honor your mom. But it's okay, as you're in your follow-up phase, to just call and say hello and get that word just out of your vocabulary. I'm terrible at it. I'm still working on it every single day. And even if you're not just following up, how many of you do this? This is Liza calling, and I'm just calling to let you know. It immediately minimizes the reason for your call. You're not just calling, you're calling because it's important, because you are important and the work that you do is important and the service that you provide for the families that you serve is important. So don't just call. It's such a tiny little thing, but it really does make a big difference. All right, I want to move into an opportunity to hear any questions that anybody has. Lisa says the most important thing is to be as transparent as you can and listen to what is important to the family. Absolutely. Transparency and authenticity are everything. And that's why you are your own competitive advantage. Within your corporation, outside of your corporation, that's why, because nobody can offer what you can. Nobody can offer the compassion, the care, the empathy in quite the same way that you can. Thank you, Lisa. I love that. Are there any things that we did not touch on? Any questions that you have that we have not covered? Nicholas says, sometimes it's good to just reach out. Oh, he said just. Nicholas. Sometimes it's good. I'm going to ignore the just. Sometimes it's good to reach out and tell them that you appreciate them talking to you. In this case, sharing their loved one's story or their own. No business at all, just that communication and continued rapport building. You know, I love that you said that, Nicholas. One of the most loyal clients that I ever had came into my cemetery one day, a wreck. I mean, just a wreck. She came to my desk. She was swearing. She was angry. It was just awful. And I was just broken for her. I was so heartbroken for her. She had lost her husband something like 14 weeks earlier, and everybody had gone back to their lives and just left her in her grief. And I hugged her, and she cried on my shoulder, and she left, and I just couldn't think about anything else the rest of the day. My heart just ached for her. So I did a little bit of research, and I found out who she was, found out where she lived. And on my way home that night, I went to her house with a little gift bag, and I had like a little Christmas ornament in there, and just a couple little logoed things, branded things, and I wrote a handwritten note in there, something like, it was, you just touched my heart today. I've been thinking about you, and I want you to know that I'm praying for you. You're not alone, and if there's ever anything that I can do for you. And she called me, actually that overnight, I went back to work, and I had a voicemail the next morning, crying into the phone. And the words that she used were, you restored my faith in humanity. And she and I we still are very good friends. I don't work in the same company anymore. I don't work at the same park anymore. But we're still Facebook friends. I went to her wedding. She was remarried a few years later. And it all started with, she just touched my heart. And I wanted to let her know that. I didn't want anything from her. She was already all taken care of. There was nothing else I could have sold her if I even wanted to. But it was the right thing to do. And if we're leading with the right thing because it's the right thing, that's what it's all about, and the money will follow. Margaret said, what type of logo thing? So I worked at a cemetery. So I took some of the logoed cemetery merchandise that we had, Margaret. Just some of the locally branded things. And then I also, like I said, I just bought a little, I kept them in my desk, little Christmas ornaments that I could give to people when they touched my heart. I didn't give them to everybody. They were a little bit more expensive, but when I felt like there was a connection. So I took that and a few different things to her. Nothing, I don't think the whole bag cost more than $10, with everything that was in it. It wasn't about the value. It was just about letting her know that she wasn't by herself. All right. Tell me about your loved one and the family has nothing. Oh, that's a good question, Joey. So when the family has nothing, you have to ask a few more pointed questions, right? Rather than leaving it open. So open-ended questions, if you're in sales, we all know, ask all the open-ended questions, and that's great. But sometimes you've got to ask the closed-ended questions. How long were you married? Did your mom work, or was she always at home with you? Right? Even that can tell you, what are we thinking about visually? Are we thinking about, was there a career? Was there, or did she love to bake, or did she love to garden, or all of these things can contribute to you sort of starting to tell that story for them, even if they don't give you much to work with. So going from open-ended questions, Joey, to closed-ended, I think is really important. Adam says, what about the scout? Oh yeah, the person who wants to just give me the information. I'm going to take it back to all the decision makers. That's your person who doesn't want to be the decision maker. I'm just here for the information, and give me all the pricing, and then I'm going to take it. Generally, that's your shopper, because they're not just going to take it to the decision makers. They're going to take it to the firm down the street too. And then the one down the street from them, and then the one down the street from them. They're going to get all the prices and then go with the cheapest. Very important to sit down with that person just like you would a decision maker. Ask the questions. Get into the relationship, even with the person who's not the decision maker, because they're going to be your connection to your decision makers. So it's okay to still go through that process with them, build the relationship, present what you're going to present. And when they go to take it back to the new decision makers, you're going to do it the same way that you would with, I need to think about it. Not a problem. So if I don't hear from you by, Monday at noon, I'll give you a call. Does that sound like an okay time? Beautiful. All right, wonderful. Now, before you go, just curious, what do you think your cousins or your siblings, what do you think they're going to think about this? Do you think they're going to really like this? Or if they're going to argue on something and say they don't like it, what do you think that's going to be? And because you're leaning in as a buddy and not as a sales professional, you may be able to get a little bit more out of them so that, again, when you follow up, you can overcome that objection right away before they can even get into it with you. I hope that's helpful, Adam. Let's see. Objection from a person who comes in expecting lies, excuses, price gouging, etc. Any tips? Relationship. I have worked for several cemeteries, several organizations, not even just in death care, where I came in to a hot mess express from former management, former employees, the way things used to be, and people just have it out for you because 47 years ago, you took advantage of me. And they want to tell you everything that anybody ever associated with anybody that you've ever known has ever done to them. So listen. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's just terrible. I'm so sorry that was your experience here. Well, I'm really glad that you came in and that I have the opportunity to talk to you because, I'm newer here. I've only been here for 15 years and gosh, your problem was 47 years ago. So certainly I wasn't, I was in diapers then. Make it sort of funny, make it a little bit lighter. Let me give you my card. And here's one of the best ways that you can get over that is on your card. Don't just hand it to them. Take a pen and circle your direct line on it, or write down a cell phone, or even if it's just a secondary phone number that's going to ring to the same number, write it down on there. I want you to call me with any questions. I'm going to make sure that you're taken care of. So yes, listen, apologize, not even apologize. I mean, apologize that the experience happened, but just agree with them that that's unacceptable. I can't believe that was your experience. I'm so sorry that happened to you. But my gosh, am I so happy that you walked in today when I happened to be here, because I'm going to make sure that moving forward, you are taken care of. And that's one of those things that you can sort of lean in and have that, like, just between you and me. I don't give this number to everybody. So it's really important that they feel important to you. All right, I hope that was helpful. Okay, Lisa. Yeah, Lisa says it's a good situation where listening to their experience is key. Exactly. Listen. Good. All right, let's see. Somebody comes in and you really connect. You're not told initially that more than one person is involved. They're all in, and anyone else that will be handling. They are all in, and with anyone else, they would be handing you a check. Then they say, oh, well, I'm going to go share this with XYZ and see what they think. Yeah, I would say that's definitely, it's going to happen less if you are taking the time to really get to know them. And they're not going to do that to you unless they don't feel a connection with you. If they feel like, because that sounds like a smoke screen to me. Yep, everybody's here. We're good to go. So-and-so over there is going to write the check. And then all of a sudden, well, we need to, we need to think about it. And so I would handle it that way. So you never want to argue when they say, well, I'm going to go think about it. Well, what do you mean you're going to go think about it? What a terrible idea. You don't want to argue with them. So accept it. Sure. I totally understand. If you need to think about it, that's not a problem at all. But just between us, right? So immediately it just takes them off edge a little bit, because you come out of the salesperson purchaser relationship and into more of, off the record. What do you think? And you'll get the information that you need so that when you do have that follow-up conversation, you'll be able to go from there. Abby's run into that too. All right, let's see. Sometimes it can be difficult to find where the right spot between personal and professional can be. Listen, this is an art. It's not a science. It's not. Even you will find that the more you do it, the better you'll be. There are the two questions that I ask myself after every single meeting that I have, after every single pitch, every single appointment. And those are in this order on purpose. Number one, what went really, really well? And yes, you have to find something, right? What did I do well? I introduced myself really well. Or I feel like I overcame this particular objection very well. Or I learned so much about XYZ, whatever that is. Secondly, if I had to do it all over again, what would I do differently? And if you ask yourself those two questions after every single appointment, you're going to build yourself up this arsenal of knowledge so that when you do appointments in the future, you don't make the same mistakes. That you do the things that you did really well, you do it again. And the things that you would have done differently, that's what you're going to lead with in your next one. So finding that spot between personal and professional, I mean, I struggle with it all the time because I tend to be that chatty, like person. Sometimes I will get too much into like the buddy zone. And if I don't watch myself on that, I'll sit in an appointment for 2.5 hours. And all of a sudden, like, it's like, oh, hey, it's been 2.5 hours. Maybe we should go to lunch or something. That great. I mean, my social life is fantastic, but my bank account is nothing if I let that happen all the time. So we've got to sort of find that balance all the time. I think women can stop at a home. Are we talking about in-home appointments, Margaret? Is that what you mean? I'm going to come back to that one once I get a little clarity on that. Dropping a note in the mail is a nice personal touch as well. I think that's really important. Is it Tia or Thea? I'm not sure, but I love that idea. I'm a fan of postcards. Recently, we started doing a lot of postcard marketing. It's less expensive to send than it is a letter. And you're not going to have people throwing away without opening the envelope. So I really like the postcards. If you put something really fun and like eye-catching on the front, that can be a great way.
Liza, the comment about women dropping by instead of a man, that came in after you were talking about dropping off that gift bag.
Oh, got it. So about the gift bag, I did not even ring her doorbell. So you can drop by somebody's house and not even knock. I'm not even intending to see them. What I want to do is leave something on their doorstep so that when they come out, they see it. I never would suggest that somebody, like everybody on this call, should be knocking on doors. I don't know where you live. I don't know what your area is. So, to your comfort, and obviously safety first. So if it's not a comfortable thing, then you don't want to be knocking on doors. But I still am a fan of just dropping something. I was in the area, you were on my mind, and I wanted to make sure I got this to you. All right, when a client walks in, ooh, this is going to be good. Elizabeth, in the first 5 minutes, he or she will know if the experience is going to be authentic and genuine, or if they're going to be approached like they are in a jewelry store or on a car lot. Absolutely accurate. They will know. They will know. How do you balance being excited about a project and still being sensitive? Oh, that's a good question. I think that you can absolutely be both. And I think when you're excited about something, you can say things like, I feel like this is the perfect way to honor your mom and everything that you've told me about her. I just see this. It's just so perfect for her. I cannot wait to see it. And I know that your family is going to really love it too. So you're not like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. I can't wait. Thank God your mom died, right? It's obviously, you have to be a little bit more toned down, and it's really more about your tone of voice at that point than it is about anything else. So you never want, obviously you're not going to say the words, yay, your mom died, but sometimes if you're not careful, your tone may come across that. So just always really focus on the tone that you're using when you are working with a family. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying to a family, I'm so excited to see this. I think this is just going to be beautiful. All right. Did I get through all of them?
I think probably, Liza, the last one here that we see would be from Joey, advice on how to deal with a family that's quick to big emotion. So maybe that's the question.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a lot of tissue around. The big emotions, they're real. I think it is really important to set up, particularly the monument, the memorial design, as this is designed to be a cathartic experience. You know, this is really supposed to be a step in your healing process. So when those big emotions are there, I think it's really important to just be able to say, you know, I know that this is a lot. I know that this is a lot. Take your time. You know, I'm not here to rush you through anything. We're going to go at your pace so that this really is a healing process for you rather than something that is you know, a burden or something that you just have to get done. If it's feeling like this is something you just have to get done, maybe we really need to slow down and really allow this to become something that it starts to heal you as you move forward. Any other questions? I think that might have been it. So I want you to think about how you're going to do things differently after today. If you have a huge aha moment that you want to share in the chat, I would love it. But, you know, I want to leave you with one final thought, and that is that sensitivity is not a weakness. Your sensitivity is your superpower. Your authenticity is your superpower. And when you lead with that, when you lead with sensitivity, you allow a family to go through the process the way that they need to. It's not about you. It's not about your paycheck. All of that will be taken care of when you serve families the way that they deserve to be served, because it's the right thing to do. So lean into that sensitivity. Serena says, in the raw emotional moments, I always ask if I'm going through the information too fast and if I need to slow down for them or if they need a moment. I think there are moments where I'll step out of the room, especially if there's more than one person and they're like hugging and sort of crying on each other's shoulder. I'm going to go grab a couple bottles of water. I'm going to give you a minute and I'll be right back for you. Abby says, what would you put on a postcard? Is that sent to potential clients or established ones? Abby, I think the postcard is really just a way to follow up. And a way to maintain a relationship with a family. It's something that you can utilize to generate referrals in the future, just to make sure that you stay in someone's life, that you are who they think of when certain things come to mind, when they're thinking about grief, when they're thinking about memorialization, when someone else loses someone and says, gosh, I got to do this and I don't even know where to even begin, that they may say, you know, I've got this person, Abby, who worked with me, and maybe you should talk to her. Right. So it's just about keeping your name in front of them. It could be happy spring. It could be absolutely anything. It could be just a thinking of you so that they know that they're on your mind and it keeps you on their mind too. Carol said the third question. Nope, Carol, 2 questions. I asked myself 2 questions after every appointment. What went really well? And what would I do differently if I had it to do all over again? Laura says, I've cried and laughed with families. I think that's really important. Sometimes we feel like in order to be professional, I can't show any emotion. I have sat and cried with families too. Now, the key with that, and people say to me, well, when is it okay? It's always okay as long as, as long as you don't make it about you. As long as the family isn't having to comfort you, it's absolutely okay to get emotional and even shed a tear with a family. Made a statement at the beginning about the granite. What we do every single day, it's not about granite, it's about grief. The granite is just a tool in the grieving process that we have at our disposal to help a family to really cherish that legacy. All right. Wow, an hour passed really fast, you guys. I even went over and I promised I wouldn't. I'm so sorry. All right. Is there anything else, Christine? Anyone? I appreciate I love this. Hi, Craig.
That's so funny. No, thank you so much. Thank you. Liza, thank you for being here. Thank you everyone for being here today. Please note that this webinar counts for 1 hour of CM credit. You can learn more about the Certified Memorialist Program at monumentbuilders.org. Just click on MBNA and select the Certified Memorialist Program. If you're not already doing so, I would encourage you to find the WinMBNA Facebook group and request to join so that you could be the first to know about future WinMBNA programming. Thank you again, everyone, for your participation here today, and we hope you have a wonderful afternoon.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Hi, Liza.
Hi, Craig. Love you.
Thank you.